We finally have some news around the new Star Wars movie coming quite soon. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. I feel like we have constantly been talking about the Star Wars movie, and it's somehow further and closer than it's ever been.
Yeah.
The news that we got is Star Wars New Jedi Order is the rumored title that it's going to be called, and we have more details around the specifics behind the scenes, or rumored specifics behind the scenes. According to this report, August 2024 is when the movie is set to start filming, and that is actually quite hopeful. It was supposed to start filming in April, but has been pushed back to either August or September due to the writer strikes as well as the actor strikes. And hopefully those will all be done. With the writer strike is in progress, is closed. It's done. Writers are back to normal, but actors are still looking to get their full deals. Some interesting bits here, though, is that the Peaky Blinders creator, Stephen Knight, is working on his script for the movie. And he apparently has a deadline to get it done before Christmas Day. According to this report, it's actually quite likely because he's got the latest draft already sent off, apparently.
So they say.
So they say. We don't know who these sources are or what's going on there, but apparently this is the specifics that we have. And for a refresher, this movie is supposed to come out May 22nd, 2026. Originally, it was supposed to come out in 2025, which is why Star Wars Celebration is set in 2025. But they moved it forward, and apparently we're going to get 2 new movies that year. As it stands, it will probably not happen, and we'll only just get the one. And if I were a betting man, I would say that this May 22nd date gets moved to December of 2026.
Yeah, there's so much time. And between now and that movie,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, so much is going to change. But at least for now, we can speculate.
Yes. And I do want to talk about this because we have the details around the name, New Jedi Order. It's set 15 years after the rise of Skywalker and follows Daisy Ridley's Rey as she builds the next Jedi Order. Surprise, surprise.
What?
How do we feel about this?
Why does it sound like the New Order? I don't like it.
You don't want another Jedi Order?
Wasn't the New Empire like the New Order?
It was the First Order.
Okay, like no.
The New Republic.
Can we get some like new words in here? Like this is way too
just
recycled.
Use the same words and put new in front of it. That's how you make it new.
Unless we're all going Gray Jedi and we have like the new as in like the good guys and then the Order as in the bad guys, and we're putting Jedi in between them and we're like, we're all pals now. Like, what is going on here?
I think it's interesting when you look at the placement of this. They didn't do a Star Wars sequel trilogy where they set it 30 years after, and they didn't go back 30 years. They went forward 15 years, which I think is an interesting decision considering what's now the Star Wars that we're getting of the Mandoverse is set within like a 20, 30-ish year time period, and there's only 15 years in between these two. Are they looking to expand anything in between that leading up to the movie? Are they going to have some TV series that fills in the gaps between the rise of Skywalker and the New Jedi Order? Or are they just going to say, no, we're going to let this be a new slate and have a new universe to play around with, or a new time frame to play around with? So it's about 35, 40 years after the events of the Mandoverse.
Okay.
So we're far into the future. Again, they're pushing it even further. What is the technology going to look like? What does it look like for these characters? Who's the bad guy going to be?
Yeah, themselves. That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. But
what's the dark side focus? Because I feel like if you follow the rise of Skywalker to its end and you say Rey is now a Skywalker, this would be a continuation of the Skywalker saga. And a continuation of what all of that entails.
Yeah, the cycle.
the cycle.
That Balin's talking about.
Yeah. Balin's skull talks about the cycle, the endless cycle repeating ever and ever. Where does it take place in this galaxy? Who is the bad person? Who is the villain of this movie? And are they going to set up this new timeline? Possibly a trilogy? Maybe? I don't know.
Who knows, man? This is they've been so vague on all of this right now. But if we're gonna follow in Star Wars fashion, the rise of the good means the rise of the bad.
Yeah.
So, who's gonna win?
I have a theory.
Okay.
That it is the Yuzon Vong, or possibly the Rakatan Empire. Like, I think these are two villains that we have not yet seen in canon. We've seen references to them in Ahsoka, not the Yuzon Vong necessarily, but the Rakatan Empire for sure. And it's these beings from outside the galaxy that come into the Star Wars galaxy, a conquering species that is going from galaxy to galaxy and destroying them. And I think, having not seen them in canon, it could be an interesting or unique villain for this. I don't necessarily know if it's enough or if they can set the foundation of it enough. And I kind of would like it to be a dark side user rather than this species outside of the galaxy that utilizes the Force as a technology.
It's a really interesting idea, and I think that would be really a fascinating thing to see. But I think the only plausibility of it is that we are seeing, obviously with Ahsoka, this other galaxy travel.
Yeah.
So it would kind of make sense if they pulled that in.
Yeah, if you fast forward some time.
Hey, like, it's true. Maybe these connections are being more established. Who knows? But they focus way more on, like, actual singular characters, especially for bad guys.
Yeah.
That I can't imagine it being an entire, like, species or race.
Yeah, that's the thing that comes to mind as something familiar, but I do think if we're looking at some dark side user that we don't know, I personally think that would be even more exciting. What if it's one of her students? What if it is following a similar cycle as you see with Luke and Kylo? What if it is maybe someone she attempts to train but is actually a dark side user, is more in tune to the dark side that makes her more fearful of that? Did they necessarily wipe the black and white from the galaxy as Rey has discovered more of the origins of the Jedi Order? Why is she making a new Jedi Order when
There's so many questions.
all of the iterations of the Jedi Order have failed?
Yeah.
Miserably, mostly because of the people running them. Actually, we've got 100% success rate of the people running them destroying them.
Yeah. So why? That would be my biggest question for this movie is why? Like,
so they
what
can keep on Star Wars.
Oh, sure. Okay. But why? You know, like, I need more than just throw some Star Wars at me. Like, some
what if
days
it's
I'm okay with that, but I'd rather that in more of like a short form content or like show or not a movie. Give me something with some meat.
What if it's more of like a representation of like the past as the villain? Like, what if it's someone who wants to reinforce what came before as the Jedi and challenges Rey's teaching? If Rey's pushing forward what it's known to be as a Jedi, and this other person wants the semblances of like history and past and how things were done, what if that's the character? Is almost like a Balin-esque,
where it's like the fight between
growth
and stagnation of the past. Interesting.
I think it's interesting.
That could be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Even just to see that. I mean, Star Wars has always been a platform for discussion of like just political current events and whatnot. So heck yeah. That it makes sense. That makes sense.
Since the beginning. If you don't think Star Wars is political, go back and watch Star Wars. It's been there since the beginning. But let us know your thoughts on, one, this movie, and our theory about where it could possibly be going. As always, check out our podcast, and may the Force be with you.